what is pure theory of public expenditure actually Samuelson का ही है. So we will talk about that also. I'll send a PDF on that also क्योंकि इसमें थोड़ा मटेरियल में प्रॉब्लम होगा आपको मिलने में. So that is why. So पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर ग्रोथ की हम बात करेंगे जिसमें कुछ कंसेप्ट्स हैं. एंड क्योंकि ये फॉरेन ऑथर की किताब है इसलिए इसमें यूएस इकोनॉमी को डिस्कस किया है. लेकिन व्हेन यू आर स्टार्टिंग योर आंसर try to fit in Indian economy here and talk about this topic, that is public expenditure and its theories. What we talk about that expenditure growth, that every country, whether here they are talking about US, but every country faces a kind of growth in public expenditure. That means the expenditure which is expected to be done by government rises. And what are the causes of these public expenditure rise? We will examine it also. And beginning with the 1880s में there was a German economist Adolf Wagner. और वैगनर का एक लॉ है इंक्रीजिंग लॉ ऑफ स्टेट एक्टिविटीज या लॉ ऑफ राइजिंग पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर. सो ही फेल्ट perhaps in anticipation of trends to be realized 50 to 100 years later, that the development of modern industrial society would give rise to increasing political pressure for social progress and call for increased allowance for social consideration in the conduct of industry. That means he talked about the anticipation. That means there will be a rise in the public expenditure within 50 to 100 years later. And why it will rise? Because of this reason. Because we were giving too much emphasis to industrialization, and industrialization will lead to modern industrial society where society is developed with those kinds of needs and wants which are result of industrialization, and this would give rise to political pressure for social progress, and automatically state will be compelled to provide those goods and services to the society which calls for social progress. That means which calls for growth in the public expenditure and call for increased allowance for social consideration in the conduct of industry. And automatically, the role of it will become more important in the conduct of industry, because industries cannot flourish without the positive environment of business, without the positive support of the government. And that is why a state is needed. A state is needed to provide allowances. A state is needed to provide support in the conduct of industry, which can create welfare objective at the same time as well as the industries to flourish. What we are trying to look at here is, if you elaborate this point, on the one hand, if industrialization happens, it calls for more flourishing of the private sector, for example. Right? It calls for more flourishing of corporate sector. Okay? And on the other hand, the corporate sector cannot flourish without exploiting the labor class. That is also a natural phenomena. That is also a fact that the industries, the industrialists cannot earn profits without the help of the poor. But on the other hand, they don't recognize the help, but rather they exploit them in the race of becoming more rich. That is a fact. And that is why there comes the exploitation of the poor, there comes the divide between the rich and the poor, and there comes the role of the state. There comes the role of the government, making or using fiscal instruments to create equality. And these fiscal instruments are taxation and public expenditure. So taxation में जैसे आपने पढ़ा कि आप progressive taxation लगाते हो. Progressive taxation is a method to create more equality in the income and wealth distribution. Rich should be taxed more or less, poor should be taxed less, so that the revenue which you collect through the taxes from the rich can be spent back on the poor. So that is for the social consideration. And similarly, public expenditure in the context of industrialization will call for social consideration or welfare objective or equity objective to be of primary importance. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Please try to write it also, expand it also, because this I will send, but the extra things which I am telling, please write it. In consequence, continual expansion of public sector and its share in the economy should be expected. And there you fit in your data and say that this shows that in Indian economy, the role of public sector has been on rise, which is supported by the data. So continual expansion is needed. Continual increase in the state activities is needed, right? And state share in the public utility services is on rise. So this is evident. This is unevitable. And role of public sector needs to be given more importance, because now the role of the government is not only performing traditional functions, but also the welfare state. It is acquiring the definition of welfare state, where the state is expected to support, the state is expected to protect the citizens of the country, right? So this is a welfare function of the state, which is assuming greater and greater importance in the current scenario. And that is what Wagner said in 1880s, that he felt that when we want industrialization to happen, it will create more widening gap between the rich and the poor, and it will put more political pressure on the government for social progress, for the progress of the general society. Now, absolute growth. Public expenditure have risen vastly in dollar terms. Such expenditures have increased by a multiple of nearly 2000 over the past 90 years. So here you can talk about the trends of public expenditure in India. Say for the last 5 years, look at those figures and see that this growth of public expenditure is on rise. Prices over the same period grew by multiple, so that the multiple in terms of constant dollars drops to this. What does it want to say in these lines? You don't refer to this data, but you are trying to look at Wagner's law. And Wagner did a case study on US economy, and then on the basis of that, he derived this conclusion. So that is why you can just refer that Wagner talked about absolute growth, that he supported this concept with the case study of US economy. And he said that like with years, over the years, the figures for public expenditure was rising, and similarly, simultaneously, the prices were also rising. So inflation was also happening as soon as the expenditure is rising. Why? Because if you want to simply connect it in the simple economics, if public expenditure is rising, that means the government is promoting more production for public goods. Now public goods production means more people will be employed there to contribute in the production process. Their incomes will rise, and as their incomes will rise, their demand will rise. And if their demand will rise and we are not able to supply in proportion to that, because of certain other factors like population is one of the factors, then automatically it will create inflation. So these are the problems which are inherent in this growing public expenditure, which we need to look at when we are talking about the public expenditure growth. Another point, growth in relation to GNP, gross national product. ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट क्या होता है बताइए? What is the definition of gross national product? GDP. Right. GDP plus X minus M is your GNP, import minus export or net income from abroad. अगर आप उसमें जोड़ देते हैं, क्योंकि GDP is within the boundaries of the nation and GNP is when you add this component in GDP, then you get the GNP. Now, allowance for population and price changes are obvious corrections, but they are not enough. One must also note that there has been a vast increase in productivity over the period, leading to a nearly six-fold rise in per capita income in constant dollars. There is every reason to expect that part of this gain should have been spent on goods and services provided by the public sector. In other words, focus should be on share of government in total expenditure, with the law of rising public expenditures defined in terms of a rising public sector share. That means you can see how much the population is changing, how much the inflation is occurring. You can give allowances for that. अगर price change रहा है, अगर डिमांड बढ़ रहा है, तो सप्लाई बढ़ाने के लिए आप कैसे कुछ कंट्रोल मेजर्स अपना सकते हो. अगर इन्फ्लेशन जरूरत से ज्यादा हो गया, मॉनिटरी इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, फिस्कल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, यू कैन डू दैट. बट देन whatever experience he was conducting over US, he saw that there is a vast increase in productivity, because obviously the government is spending more on the social goods or public goods. There will be a rise in the productivity, which will create more national income, and a national income divided by total population will give you per capita income. So per capita income will also rise. Now, out of that per capita income increase, whether the whole rise is spent on the goods and services? No, because if it would have been the case, then there would have been no problem. But the problem occurs because the per capita income rise is not all spent on the goods and services provided by the public sector, but only a fraction of it. And that is why the focus should be on the share of government in total expenditures. कि आपकी जो आपने जो एक बार प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाई और लोगों के हाथ में जो पर कैपिटा इनकम आई, अगर वो वापस उतनी उधर चली जाए, मतलब इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन सेक्टर, तो ऑलवेज देयर विल बी एन इक्विलिब्रियम. रिमेंबर सर्कुलर फ्लो ऑफ प्रोडक्ट एंड इनकम. हो सकता है आप मैक्रो में पढ़ रहे हो. तो सर्कुलर फ्लो ऑफ प्रोडक्ट एंड इनकम यही एडवोकेट करता है कि इकोनॉमी में दो सेक्टर्स हैं, वन इज हाउस होल्ड एंड वन इज फर्म्स. नाउ फर्म्स में जो प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है वो कैसे हो रहा है? विद द कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ हाउस होल्ड सेक्टर, एंड फॉर दैट द हाउस होल्ड सेक्टर गेट्स द इनकम विच इज पर कैपिटा इनकम. Now, out of that, when the production takes place in the firm sector, the production is going to be sold to them only, and they are going to spend that earned income on the prices of these goods and services. Now, it is a fact that they don't spend the whole rise in per capita income, which happened in US, and that is why there was a growth in relation to GNP, which was not very clear. That means that growth was not happening because the increase in the per capita income has all been spent on the prices of goods and services. So that was a area of analysis for Adolf Wagner, that when it is increasing state activities which is happening, then obviously it will lead to more production, it will lead to more demand, it will lead to more incomes in terms of per capita. But then whether it is going to increase really the economic growth, that has to be examined. Because what is that per capita income? Whether that per capita income of everyone is increasing, or whether the per capita income of only few individuals are increasing, that is one of the things need to be analyzed. Now, expenditure to GNP ratio will clarify this point of growth in relation to GNP. What he said, beginning with the most global measure, that means cross country, agar aap comparison kar rahe ho, we find that the ratio of public expenditures to GNP rose from 35% with a nearly six-fold increase by the relative size of public sector. This leaves us with a substantial increase, but by no means so drastic a rise as suggested by the record of growth. That means एज तो हुआ, इंक्रीज तो हुआ पब्लिक सेक्टर के साइज में, लेकिन इतना भी नहीं हुआ कि वो जो प्राइस राइज था उसको वो बैलेंस कर लेता. The path of overall expenditure growth is they have referred to this table which money is not very essential for you. But what he tried to look at is the increase in the public expenditure has happened, determined by this table, shown by this table, the growth of the government expenditure. If you see year wise, they have given this table where they're trying to see that it has increased from 0.8 to 10.7. It is around more than 9 times, but then 10% increase. But then the thing is that whether this rising expenditure has been translated in the growth or not. That is one of the questions. Similar case you can write for India. Now expenditure elasticity. एक्सपेंडिचर इलास्टिसिटी का मतलब क्या है कि जो आपने एक्सपेंडिचर किया उसके कंपैरिजन में जो आपका ग्रोथ है क्या वो उस तरह से हो रहा है या नहीं. दैट विल बी डिटरमिनिंग द इलास्टिसिटी, दैट इज फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ऑफ एक्सपेंडिचर. व्हाट showed that table that shows the GNP elasticity of total and civilian expenditure over selected years. We note that both elasticities were substantially above unity, reflecting the rising expenditure to GNP ratios. However, we also note that the elasticity fell in recent decades. That means this table shows economy's marginal propensity to spend defined as the increase in public expenditure. While the marginal propensity to spend on civilian outlays moved up, this tendency was reversed during the 1980s. That is, if the government is spending, then how much the GNP is changing, that will be called the expenditure elasticity. And they took the cases of two types of expenditures here, that is total expenditure and then the civilian expenditure, and tried to show that sometimes the elasticity is more and sometimes the elasticity is less. When the marginal propensity to consume, that means is more, then automatically the expenditure elasticity will be more and it will be translated in the economic growth. But if expenditure, that is marginal propensity to spend, will be less, as was the case in 1980s, which they saw, then automatically it will not translate in the economic growth or the increase in the GNP. So that growth in relation to GNP will depend upon this factor of expenditure elasticity. कि गवर्नमेंट जो पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर कर रही है उसके प्रपोर्शन में जो लोगों की मार्जिनल प्रोपेंसिटी टू कंज्यूम है या स्पेंड है वो कितना बढ़ती या घटती है, इस पर ये डिटरमिन करता है कि कंट्री में इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ हो रही है या नहीं. Now again they have shown this diagram where they are trying to show the two types of expenditures which Wagner referred, total expenditure and then the civilian expenditure as percentage of GNP. This table is showing what? The expenditure elasticity and propensities. This is marginal propensity, which is if you see GNP elasticity is 1.8 and civilian marginal propensity is 9.0. So automatically that means the change in GNP has not been taking place as the marginal propensity. That is, the relationship is not evident in the GNP growth. Then by level of government, as shown in lines 9 through 11 of table 8.1, the trend over the century was toward increasing to expenditure centralization. सेंट्रलाइजेशन का मतलब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास में जो एक्सपेंडिचर है वो ज्यादा बढ़ने लगा. फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर भी आप आगे पढ़ोगे जिसमें हम ये बात करेंगे कि सेंटर स्टेट दो लेवल की आपकी मेनली गवर्नमेंट होती है और फिर लोकल गवर्नमेंट्स होती हैं. So although the federal share in 1929 was the same, the depression decade of the 30s brought a substantial step up. Depression 1930s ka, all of you know about it. Keynes gave his theory of income employment at that time, analyzing the reasons, and he found out there was a lack of effective demand which resulted in depression. So similarly World War II हुआ था around that time. So since 1950 the federal share, मतलब ये सब आपके disturbances हुए, but after that 1950s के onwards जो federal share है, that means the allocation of expenditure between the center and the state has been fairly stable. Also note that the rising federal share was accompanied by a decline in the local and a gain in the state share. That means rising federal share माने कि अगर आपका सेंटर का जो रेवेन्यू है, एक्सपेंडिचर है, वो बढ़ रहा है, तो स्टेट, जो भी स्टेट, उसमें भी पॉलिटिक्स आ जाती है कि जो स्टेट उस सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से गवर्नड है वहां तो गेन होगा, लेकिन जो स्टेट उस सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के ऑपोजिट पार्टी से गवर्नड है वहां पे उतना गेन नहीं होगा. एंड इट वाज accompanied by a decline in local government को उतना फायदा नहीं होता. So centralization as measured by shares in expenditure to the public has been less pronounced because of the increasing importance of such grants. Now grants are given by the center to the state. Then defense versus civilian expenditure. Now another question, that whether the rising expenditure is being spent on defense of the country or it is being distributed among the civilian expenditure. That is also a point to be noted or analyzed when we want to show that the public expenditure is benefiting the general society. We note that for our 90-year period, the civilian expenditure ratio has increased somewhat faster than defense ratio, but both have risen substantially. However, the pattern by sub-period differs sharply, and they have written about these years, which you can read out. But the main point which we have to emphasize here is that how much expenditure has been allocated for civilian expenditure and how much has been spent on defense. कई बार आपने देखा होगा कि जो सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हैं वो क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं गवर्नमेंट के एक्शन को अगर वो डिफेंस पे बहुत ज़्यादा खर्च करते हैं. Why? Because they say कि India is a poor country and we should allocate more civilian expenditure rather than defense. So, but that depends upon the policy of the government and the central government decisions. But then that is a problem, and that is a point to be analyzed, that out of the total public expenditure, how much is allocated for defense and how much is allocated for civilian matters. Then another allocation of public expenditure between purchase and transfer. Transfer payments का मतलब जैसे आपका pension है. Now pension is a kind of transfer payment. The scholarship है. Scholarship is a kind of transfer payment. So what is the kind of public expenditure between purchases and transfers? Now these are the graphs which they have made on the basis of US economy. You can make this is your homework now. You have to make every data translate it into Indian economy and try to refer to economic survey. Now, transfer payments account for civilian expenditure. That is also a point to be noted. And that is why they are a part of social security measures like pension. Pension is a form of social security payment or welfare payment. So we have to see that overall जो public expenditure का division है वो कितना towards welfare of the general masses है या towards the welfare of the centralized authorities है. ये चीज आपको देखनी होगी, and this is the point to be analyzed. And then taking the overall picture, we see that the role of distribution branch expanded while that of allocation branch declined. And we have already written it that there are three main branches: allocation, distribution and stabilization. So allocation का role उतना important नहीं होता जितना कि distribution. Because अगर आपका distribution proper नहीं है, equal नहीं है, so automatically this will create more gap between the rich and the poor and will create inequalities. Now we have come to the changing composition of civilian expenditure. When the government does the public expenditure, then how much the government is doing on defense and how much is the government is doing civilian. And civilian में ये सारे components आते हैं. ठीक है? If I get the data, I'll send you on the group for India. So this is important: social welfare, education, civil safety, economic transportation. We have some other items as per our budget and economic survey. So you can write about that, but you have to see the trend when you are talking about the changing structure of government expenditure. सिविलियन पे देखिए तो धीरे धीरे बढ़ता गया और डिफेंस का कम होता गया. So it shows that the priorities and the role of the government is changing. Now the government is expected to perform these functions more, which are welfare in a way, and defense पे कम खर्च कर. Now, if you look at this paragraph, turning now to the changing composition of the civilian expenditure structure, we note that the most striking feature is the rising trend in the share of social welfare expenditure, and particularly its dramatic upturn in the 1960s and 70s. Primarily, this reflects the expansion of social security, but other welfare payments are also included, like pension, gratuity, group insurance. They are all social security measures, and other welfare में जैसे बोनस है या आपका scholarships है या आपका subsidy है, ये वाले. The share of education has remained more or now they have analyzed that table only, so it's not very essential because when you write your data you can analyze that. This is international comparison between US and other oil exporting countries, which Musgrave tried to highlight in this chapter, that it shows that there is a all the countries, whether we talk about OECD countries or we talk about US economy, expenditure to GNP ratio has risen, with expenditure to GNP elasticity is mostly well above. So that means there is a rise in the public expenditure, which is resulted in increasing GNP also. So what are this is a common experience of all the nations, and that is why we come to the causes of expenditure growth. That what are the causes which might have led to a rising share of public expenditure and done so in line with changing economic needs and preferences of the consumers. Now, this is a cross-country comparison of all the advanced countries, if you see. So, expenditure percentage of GDP and expenditure elasticity in relation to GDP. More or less, if you see, all the countries have experienced a rise in the public expenditure compared to the earlier years, like 1960 में कम था और 82 में ज़्यादा हो गया. Now, what are the causes? जब हम लिखेंगे तो उसमें पहला cause यही है जो कि हमें देखना होगा कि a distinction should be drawn between expenditure on goods and services and on transfers, since rather different factors enter in these two cases. एक हो गया गवर्नमेंट ने गुड्स और सर्विसेज पे खर्च किया, प्रोविजन ऑफ पब्लिक गुड्स और सोशल गुड्स पे खर्च किया, मेरिट बॉन्ड्स पे खर्च किया, और एक हो गया जो आपने ट्रांसफर पेमेंट्स पे खर्च किया, जैसे आपने पेंशन दी. नाउ since both the items are of different value, are of different consequence, that is why we have to bring out a distinction between these two. Now, growth of per capita income. Now we propose this proposition that the efficient product mix between private and social goods changes as per capita income rises, and this change involves a rising share of social goods. If so, this would suggest that efficient budget policy calls for a rising share of government purchases, A to GNP as plotted in figure. So if you don't talk about figure, even then this statement is important. Efficient product mix, that means whenever a country wants to allocate the resources, allocation branch का काम वही होगा, allocation of resources between private and social goods. Now, how many of the people can afford the private goods will depend upon their incomes. And we know that in a country like India, like very few people can afford private goods. So automatically the larger demand will be of social goods, and this will involve a rising share of social goods. So when the government realizes that most of the people want the social goods to be provided, then it again starts working on the efficient budget policy. And budget policy, budget document will call for what? राइजिंग शेयर ऑफ गवर्नमेंट परचेजेस, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट पहले परचेज करेगी इनपुट्स को, रॉ मटेरियल को, तभी तो प्रोडक्शन करेगी सोशल गुड्स का. सो ऑटोमेटिकली इट विल इन्वॉल्व राइजिंग शेयर ऑफ गवर्नमेंट परचेजेस टू जीएनपी. Now, the rise in the per capita income records the development of the economy from an agriculture to a industrial state or low income to a high income state. Now, automatically अगर per capita income बढ़ती है तो जैसा कि एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ इंडिया ने भी दिखाया कि एग्रेरियन से हम इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की तरफ बढ़े, या जो लो इनकम स्टेट थे वो हाई इनकम की तरफ बढ़े. सो इट वुड बी सरप्राइजिंग इफ इन द कोर्स ऑफ दिस डेवलपमेंट the output of social goods should remain constant. That means you can't say कि अगर इनकम बढ़ती है तो जो सोशल गुड्स की डिमांड है वो ना बढ़े, या उसकी इलास्टिसिटी जीरो हो, इनकम इलास्टिसिटी. द डिमांड फॉर सच गुड्स कैन हार्डली बी एक्सपेक्टेड टू हैव एन इनकम इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ जीरो. That means you can't assume it, because if your incomes are rising, automatically it will have an impact on the demand for social goods. At the same time, there is no particular reason to expect that elasticity should be just unity. That means equal to 1 भी नहीं होगा. So that means it will be more than 1. As income will rise, you will demand more of social goods, and the increase in income is less than the increase in the demand for social goods. That will determine the income elasticity, and that is why government purchases will also rise. The provision for social goods will invite more government purchases. Now, beginning with the public provision of consumer goods, there are two kinds of goods which you can differentiate here: consumer goods and capital goods. So, what the government is providing in terms of social goods is consumer goods, because they are for the use of the consumer. They have to consume it, because this is one satisfying kind of commodity which cannot be used for further production. Capital goods क्या है? जैसे machines है, equipments है. So here the government is providing consumer goods, and for that you can write this name. Ernst Angel pointed out that the composition of consumer budget changes as family income rises. That is also a fact, that as income increases, the budget will also change, and the consumer will spend more on certain goods such as food or work clothing, or a larger share on others such as fur coats, etc. So this is the example of US. So they are writing about fur coats, but you can give some other example also. As average income increases, similar changes in the consumption pattern may be expected to occur. That means income elasticity is not zero. As your income increases, your consumption pattern will also change. Is there any reason to foresee that in the dynamics of consumer budgeting, social consumer goods will exhibit a higher income elasticity than do private goods? Now, this is a question which they are trying to analyze, that when income of the consumer increases, then whether they will demand more social consumer goods or they will demand more private goods. At first sight the opposite may be expected, क्योंकि हमारी एकदम से रिएक्शन यही होगा कि नहीं, इनकम बढ़ गई तो अब हम प्राइवेट गुड्स को अफोर्ड कर सकते हैं, तो हमें प्राइवेट गुड्स लेने चाहिए और हम लेंगे, और डिमांड उनकी बढ़ेगी और सोशल कंज्यूमर गुड्स की कम हो जाएगी. क्यों? क्योंकि हम गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज को किससे रिलेट करते हैं? बेसिक नीड से, जैसे सेफ्टी, एलिमेंट्री एजुकेशन, बेसिक सैनिटेशन, जो कि हमें ज़्यादा एसेंशियल कॉमोडिटीज लगती हैं, नेसेसिटीज लगती हैं देन लग्जरीज. But further consideration suggests that there are other public services such as higher education or improved health services which move within reach as income rises above poverty levels. लेकिन जैसे जैसे इनकम बढ़ती है, जो बच्चा मान लो 6 तक पढ़ता था वो अब ग्रेजुएशन करने लगता है, तो उसके लिए वो डिमांड फॉर हायर एजुकेशन भी आ जाएगी. He or she has to be provided with higher education services. Then those people who were still satisfied with the basic health services. Now they want improvised health services, but the actor whom we want to be providing those health services will be the same, that is state. अब हम गवर्नमेंट से उम्मीद करेंगे कि वो हमें बेटर हेल्थ सर्विसेज दे, इम्प्रूव्ड हेल्थ सर्विसेज दे, क्योंकि हमारी इनकम बढ़ गई. And similarly, there are items such as parks, marinas, high-speed highways, space explorations are of luxury types. So some of these reflect the rising tendency for government to render services which are complementary to luxury type private goods. मतलब अब हम ये सोचेंगे कि हमारी इनकम बढ़ गई, लेकिन अभी भी प्राइवेट गुड्स में पैसे खर्च करने के बजाय we should expect the state to complement those goods with the luxury type private goods. In all, speculation on the point does not lead to any clear-cut hypothesis about what might be expected. The government share in consumption may well rise and fall over successive phase of income growth. So here in this paragraph, if you see, there is a real analysis of public expenditure, which shows that as income of the peoples rise, they expect better quality of state services. They don't just expect the private sector to offer you the services, but you want improvised kind of public services which require more expenditure from the state in terms of welfare of the people. So this is a point to be noted. Now this was consumer goods. Now we come to capital goods. The relationship is more discernible with regard to public provision for capital goods. In the earlier stage of economic development, a particular need exists for the creation of overhead capital, such as roads, harbors, and power installations. Many of those items are such that the benefits are largely external, or they require large amount of capitals, the returns on which are spread over a long period of time, and thus do not lend themselves readily to private provisions. क्या होता है कि जब कैपिटल गुड्स की बात हम करते हैं और वी आर इन द इनिशियल स्टेजेस ऑफ इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट, देन वी वांट द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टू बी डेवलप्ड, वी वांट द ओवरहेड कैपिटल टू बी डेवलप्ड, we want roads to be built up, we want harbors, we want power energy sources to be supplied to that project or plant. So automatically the benefits are external or they require large amount of capital, क्योंकि जो आपका जो रिटर्न मिलेगा वो थोड़े दिन बाद मिलेगा, लेकिन आपको जो अभी अमाउंट ऑफ कैपिटल गुड लगाना है वो तुरंत लगाना है. सो दैट इज वाई प्राइवेट प्रोविजन में ये फिट नहीं बैठता, क्योंकि प्राइवेट कैपिटलिस्ट तो तभी इन्वेस्ट करेगा जबकि उसको ये लगेगा कि नहीं उसको रिटर्न तुरंत मिलने वाला है. लेकिन इन जो ये सारी सिचुएशन से, चाहे वो रोड बनाना हो, चाहे वो ब्रिज बनाना हो, चाहे वो हार्बर बनाना हो, जो कि एक पब्लिक यूटिलिटी प्रोजेक्ट से रिलेटेड है, वहां पे प्राइवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर विल बी कमिंग because they are seeing a time lag between the current capital goods consumption and the translation into the output. And since we know already that in India capital output ratio is very low, so that is why these basic facilities which need to be built up, we need a government to do that, and that is why that there is a place for industrial development in the private sector, and one would expect the public share in capital formation to decline over time. This was the case of US, but in India the reverse has happened, because now if we want the capital formation to take place, we will have to invite the state to contribute here for the provision of social goods, and we can't expect the private sector. Now there are countervailing trends. Industrial development generates problems of its own, which we have seen in the environmental economics paper. You remember that कि जब हम इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं तो कई बार हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि जो इन्वायरमेंट है वो एक वेस्ट सिंक की तरह काम करता है. हमारे इंडस्ट्रीज का जो पोल्यूशन निकल रहा है, जो कार्बन एमिट हो रहा है, उसको यूज करने के लिए, और उसकी एक वेस्ट सिंकिंग कैपेसिटी है. बियॉन्ड दैट, इफ यू विल प्रेशराइज दैट एनवायरनमेंट, then it will create those problems of global warming and climate change and these kinds of congestion. So urban blight, congestion, देन कॉल फॉर राइजिंग लेवल ऑफ पब्लिक, फिर क्या होगा, फिर गवर्नमेंट का रोल और ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा, क्योंकि आपको फिर ये सारी चीजें भी, प्रॉब्लम्स भी टैकल करनी पड़ेंगी। इसीलिए आज के सिनेरियो में इन्वायरमेंट की बात बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है, बिकॉज अभी तक हम ये भूल गए थे, इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के नाम पर हम इंडस्ट्रीज को लाइसेंस दिए जा रहे थे, उनको बढ़ावा दिए जा रहे थे, लेकिन हम ये भूल गए कि इंडस्ट्रीज को अगर आप एक लिमिट में नहीं कैप्चर करोगे, then automatically it will promote that those kinds of problems which will not be in the hands of the private capitalists, but then it has to be tackled and addressed by the government, because it affects, then it has negative externalities, it affects the health of the people, it affects the efficiency of the people, which in turn will create adverse impact on the economic development of the country. सो सच इन्वेस्टमेंट, जो इन्वेस्टमेंट आप यहाँ पे चाह रहे हो कि पब्लिक इन्वेस्टमेंट, गवर्नमेंट का इन्वेस्टमेंट फॉर डीलिंग विद दीज काइंड्स ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स, देन being of more or less remedial sort, aims at meeting social diseconomies generated by the private sector. So this is remedial sort. Why remedial sort? Because they are just remedies for congestion and urban blight or environmental pollution. And so automatically, as income rises, an increasing share of investment is directed at human investment. Now we are talking about human resource in a greater manner. We are talking about skill formation. We are talking about skilling of the youth. Why we are talking about it? Because we have realized the importance of human investment and financing of education, which is again a public function. So on balance, it is again difficult to forecast what the trend should be, and chances are that the periods of rising and of declining share may alternate. So it's very difficult to predict in advance, but it is a general statement that human investment has to be prioritized. Instead of just putting industries on top, we have to put humans on top. We have to put human skills on top. Automatically जो हमारा एक environment जो adversely impacted हुआ है through, अब हम agriculture की भी ज्यादा बात कर रहे हैं, because government has realized that we have neglected agriculture sector for so long, and without agriculture we cannot flourish, because our base is agrarian economy. So that is why these things, these issues you need to address when you are asked to talk about causes of rising public expenditure in India, or if they ask you about the causes of increasing public expenditure in general, then you can refer to these notes and talk about with some examples. So I'm closing it from here, and because it's a long document which we need to address. तो अभी आपको ये जितना आपने अभी पढ़ा है, इसको थोड़ा सा ध्यान से देखने की कोशिश करना. Once it is complete, then I will send it on the